Good afternoon. I'm Robert Keiser. I'm the Vice Chancellor of the Graduate School for Keiser University, also the lead for AI integration for Keiser University and its related institutions. This is the first episode of Keiser University Plus AI, our new podcast. Welcome. We're excited to have you. Hopefully, you will subscribe at the end of this episode. What we're going to do today is explain the mission of the podcast, the Center for Augmented Intelligence, which is our institutional response to the new AI era, and discuss what we're going to be doing in future episodes with the Keiser University Plus AI podcast. So first and foremost, what is the Center for Augmented Intelligence and what is the mission? Well, the straight answer is that the CAI is our institutional response to a question that most universities are tackling today, and some are actually still avoiding. What does it actually mean to educate a human being when machines can do much of the work, especially the cognitive work that has always been reserved for human intelligence? We are entering a new era, an era that's unprecedented, where human intelligence may be eclipsed by artificial intelligence. So from the proverbial pyramid of intelligence, human species have always been at the top of that pyramid. Animals would come under us, of course, but now we're in this new era where AI is potentially smarter, especially if we're going to get to AGI, or artificial general intelligence. But we believe at Keiser University, our mission is to make Keiser graduates augmented, meaning that we do not believe that the best application for artificial intelligence is to separate humans from AI. Instead, it is to use AI as a tool to augment human intelligence, take the existing subject matter expertise of humans, our faculty, our staff, our students, then 10x them. So if you're an excellent construction manager, you're going to be that much more effective because you're going to be using AI to build CAD designs and blueprints. If you're a nurse, you're going to use AI for patient diagnosis, patient treatment, supporting our geriatric population, but it's not going to replace your judgment. It's not going to replace your patient care. It's not going to replace your empathy and the things that make us profoundly human. What it's going to do is make us better at our jobs, reduce our backlog, reduce our bandwidth concerns, and help us focus on the items within our work that are much better. That's our positioning. We don't want to replace humans. You hear a lot of tech companies who are laying off their workforce. We think that is a mistake. You actually hear now companies that are saying that the cost, including Microsoft recently, that the cost of full AI integration is more than having the humans who work in those jobs historically. What we believe is that humans will be displaced in some form or fashion. So at the center of the Center of Augmented Intelligence is Keiser University is going to lead the way in reskilling, taking individuals who will face some job displacement, helping them find new careers and helping them find new skills. But that is not the goal. The goal is to take your existing human population, upskill them, and equip them for the skills of tomorrow. Additionally, to do this, we're going to pivot and put AI in all of our curricula. That's our AI across the curriculum initiative. What does that mean? That means that in different disciplines, you'll see different immersion of AI, different integration levels of AI. So for our master's in finance technology, pretty much the entirety of that curricula at some point, and it's currently being worked on right now, will be almost all AI driven because there's not finance technology that doesn't have in the back end AI. For construction management degrees that we will be offering in the near future, you will see AI integration, but it won't be as heavy of a dose as you will see compared to the finance technology degree. Same with our allied health program is nursing, medical assisting, radiologic technology, ultrasound. You're going to have a heavy dose of AI, but you can't replace the human patient care aspect, nor do you want to. So there's going to be a mixture, but what we are preparing as a leader in workforce education throughout Florida, but across the globe, is to prepare our students for the futures of tomorrow, for the careers of tomorrow. And if you ask any CEO, I believe, under the age of 70, they're not going to say there's going to be less AI in their workforce. There's going to be more. So we need to prepare our students for that eventuality, for that current reality, where they're going to take the skills that they learned at Keiser University, applying AI tools, learning prompting, learning from avatars that are prompted, and so on and so forth, and then apply those to the workforces that they are entering, regardless of the industry that they are entering. All right, so we're going to talk about why AI is becoming an essential part of higher education. Well, one of the hallmarks of higher education, especially undergraduate degrees, is writing a 10-page paper and using scholarly sources. Well, that is going the way of the dodo bird. That is becoming extinct. Those who are standing in the way of this change are similar to the math teachers of old who they banned they banned calculators in the classroom. Well, you can't find a math course room that doesn't use a calculator nowadays. Or it would be when I was told by some relatives that I shouldn't use GPS because I will no longer be able to navigate my way from home to work, so on and so forth. Well, the reality is I use GPS as much as many of the audience do every single day, all the time. I will GPS from home to work, even though I drive that every single day. The reality of AI is that students will use AI. They will expect universities to teach them cutting edge techniques and skills with AI. They're not going to write their papers no longer without AI and ChatGPT and Claude and so on and so forth. That's our reality. That is not going to change. We are just standing in the way of progress and risking obsolescence. What we need to do is adapt and change with the time. So at Kaiser University, we're rethinking our pedagogy. We're thinking about writing papers and saying, well, maybe historically 100% of that grade was the assessment of the paper from content, writing fluency, citations, and so on and so forth. But now that's maybe 10% of the grade because our students, and hopefully not, may not be able to write their name, but now they are Geoffrey Chaucer. They are now Shakespeare. They are now Agatha Christie. They're excellent writers, but they may not actually know what they are writing. MIT did an incredible study, and I will fudge the statistic, and I don't remember it, but this is offhand and off the cuff. But in their sample size, where they evaluated the retained knowledge from using AI to write papers, over 80% of the students who wrote their papers with AI could not recite a single line just an hour after writing that paper. What that means is that AI will create a great product. It will create a relatively perfect paper, but that doesn't mean our students are learning. And that is the issue we need to tackle. So I said that we can't stand in the face of progress and we can't ban calculators like math teachers of antiquity used to do. But we need to embrace these times. But it also is to say that the faculty members and the staff who are concerned about learning, they're not inaccurate. They're not wrong, but we're not thinking outside the box. We're not being innovative in our teaching and learning. We are resting on our laurels. And unfortunately, that's going to provide the critics of higher education all the ammunition they need to say there is no return on investment, that higher education has lost its way, that we're no longer educating the workforce and the students of the future. But what we could be doing is being novel in our approach to learning in papers. Maybe that paper is now only 10% of the entire assessment, and 90% is the oral presentation of that paper. Maybe you have AI write a paper, and then you have a student write a critique of that paper. When you're looking at themes and thematic areas for papers, maybe you need to apply personal anecdote. So don't just say, hey, write me a 10-page paper on the Civil War. Have the student then say, well, when Stonewall Jackson faced this adversity, how do you liken that to your own personal journey? That's going to be harder. And then we can also assess the prompting behind the writing of the learning. And that's what we're working on at Kaiser University today, reimagining our education, reimagining the way we assess learning. Another example of what we're doing and experimenting with today, the use of avatars in learning environments, in clinical mental health counseling, in the graduate nursing programs, and some of the ADM programs, also in criminal justice. We will be using avatars and are using avatars in certain circumstances where we prompt those avatars and they provide real life scenarios to the students that they have to interact with in a timer. So the students cannot prompt their way out of this knowledge base. They need to respond to a live shooter situation where an avatar is coming at them with prompting and being aggressive, or a patient care situation in the hospital room where the faculty are prompting the avatar to provide a patient care situation under the constraints of time, where you have a time ticker ticking down and the student has to respond, and the students are being graded on their response to the avatar. Well, these are real world scenarios and real educational scenarios where we are reimagining the way we teach, where we are reimagining how we stimulate critical thinking and critical learning, where we are reimagining assessment and utilizing AI to improve our education, improve our take-home value, not to only treat it as an academic integrity concern. With that being said, that is not only, we're not using AI in every case, and it's not ubiquitous. For tests, of course, you want to have constraints on AI. That's why lockdown browsers and in-person testing are going to be an important feature. But we're not looking at AI as an impediment to learning. We're not looking at it as a risk factor to learning. We're embedding this in our value proposition as an institution, taking a leadership role and saying that AI is going to improve our teaching and learning and not mitigate our ability to teach critical thinking and real world skills. This is the goal of the Center of Augmented Intelligence on the faculty and staff side. Now, if you look at the operational side, we will be getting into automated, and we are experimenting with now, automated agentic workflows. We will be looking at how do we reduce the backlog? How do we reduce our bandwidth concerns when we have so many student needs, so many faculty and staff needs that we can't just get to? So what we're trying to do is reimagine our future. We're taking AI as a tool that's going to improve the lives of our human population, improve our teaching and learning, improve our operations. And for those who are not innovating and not integrating, we're going to help them through professional development, through reskilling. And I do believe that the future is something that there's going to be job displacement. One of my takes on the economy is that we're entering this uncharted territory where we'll have high GDP growth, let's say 5 to 10% GDP growth annually. But then you're going to have higher unemployment. You're going to have a higher income inequality. I do think, unfortunately, AI may exacerbate the K-shaped economy that everyone talks about. But that means then there are going to be individuals, especially white collar jobs, and especially before the humanoids take place, where that's really a risk of blue collar jobs, where these individuals are going to need to be reskilled. They're going to need to learn a new trade, a new skill. And that's where I think university becomes much like a subscription model. We're going to be a center for lifelong learning. Students will come to Keiser University for shorter durations than in the past, but they will keep coming back because AI is constantly changing every day, every week, every month in rapid ways that humans can't keep up with. And the industries are going to try to keep up with these changes. The consumers will, so the industries will respond. But that means there will be people who will be left behind by this AI era and this change in this era of disruption. But Kaiser University wants to be the center of that reskilling and that upskilling. We have been a leader in upskilling, and being ranked #1 in social mobility in 2023 is proof of that concept. But we also want to now be a leader of reskilling, taking the student population and the employment population that gets displaced and helping them learn new skills to be competitive in the future. One of the topics I wanted to discuss is taking the abstract and making this concrete. A lot of people are really window dressing when it comes to artificial intelligence. And I want to demonstrate that Kaiser University and our associate institutions are leading this change. Now, do we know everything? Absolutely not. Are we the absolute leaders in this regard? Absolutely not. But in higher education, we certainly strive to be and believe that we will be and are leading this era of disruption and also positive change. So we're approaching integration and creativity through beta testing different software. Right now, in deployment and in use is the Kaiser University Guru, which is essentially a grad advisor. It's a RAG architected advising tool that gives working adults or graduate student at any time. It could be 11 p.m., it could be 7 a.m., the same quality of guidance that you would get from an academic advisor. Not only is this a productivity gain, it's an equity intervention. So students now, regardless of where they are, regardless of their time zone, regardless of their language, and it can be coded and is coded for multiple languages, can ask for support. So whether they are in Vietnam and our Vietnamese campus, whether in the Sri Lanka at our Sri Lanka campus, or they're in Tampa, Florida, they can interact with Kaiser Guru, which is in layman's terms an interactive FAQ, where they ask, how do I order my transcripts? What are the grade requirements to graduate? Where is my graduation located? Any basic academic questions will be answered by Kaiser Guru. It's embedded in our LMS, which is Blackboard. Students also have access through the App Store and iOS to access it in their pocket at any time. But what this does for the students is gives them instant access to academic advising and high quality academic advising because we built this tool. This is not some generic product that we bought from a software producer, some vendor. This is something that we created and programmed for our students. Now, is it perfect? No. And in the scenarios that it doesn't answer the questions for the students, or in the scenarios where we intentionally kept the FAQ or their interactive FAQ or Kaiser Guru vague, we do want to escalate it to a human because there are certain conversations that should be done face to face. But what this does and what we believe that this augments our value proposition as an institution. And what Kaiser University does better than any other institution in the States or across the world, at least, of course, I am biased, and at least this is my opinion, is that we care more about student success. We will intervene, we will friendly harass, is what I like to say, students so that we know that they will be successful. We get to know students on a first name, last name, real world basis, what they do for a profession, what they do as a personal individual with their kids and their family situation. We get to know them because those are risk factors to success, to graduation, to licensure, and we want them to be successful. We have a mutual goal with our students. Our mutual goal is that they walk across the stage, they graduate, they become licensed, and they become excellent practitioners. We do that hand in hand. So with Kaiser Guru, the surface level questions get handled. The basic questions every day that students are always wondering, how do I do this? What are my resources? Those get handled. But what it also allows us to do as a staff and a faculty group is to really focus on the hard hitting issues, the personal issues that students are focused on. And that's where we want our appreciative advising to take hold, is that we want our advisors to focus on the real complex contextual issues that students are facing as professionals and as fathers and mothers and working individuals. And that's what Kaiser Guru doesn't do, but it's that first layer that provides us the ability to get to those higher order issues and reduces the bandwidth concerns. Additionally, we are in beta tests with um, a transfer credit model so that you can input your transfer credits, get automated response. So that provides students access to a faster expedited review for the transfer credits. And as we know, transfer credit is a competitive environment. Students need to know so they can make an appropriate academic decision about where they may attend, but also a financial decision because transfer credit equates to taking less classes, faster graduation, which is obviously a cost savings. So that is something that we have in beta test. We also have in full use, like Kaiser Guru, a commencement portal which is going to be expanded into an event portal. Students now, when they sign up for commencement or graduation in layman's terms, they are able to go to a portal where they can access their tickets. They can ask questions about are they able to decorate their caps? Are they able to order their own gowns? Where is the location? How do I park? Where to park? The graduation portal or commencement portal was set up with a blueprint of the actual locations where they go. So they know exactly when we say park to the west side of the building, they know which parking lot we're referencing. Additionally, it provides access to live streaming, but it is a centralized repository or an interactive website, you could say, for all of our students to interact with so that they don't have to ask a human the basic questions and they can just access this tool. Within a week of launch, we had 3,000 unique interactions with our commencement portal. That was for one campus. Now that we are running it with 4 different campuses and are going to expand it to our 18 plus, which really is more like 30 plus when you consider all of our entities campuses, you can tell that this tool is going to be used a lot. It's also going to reduce some of the bandwidth concerns for some of our student services personnel. But for students, access to information is intellectual capital. It helps them make informed decisions. It helps them plan their travel down for graduation, coordinating their family. So we've had rave reviews, and ultimately it's something that we're going to continue with and expand to different events. We have other products in beta. I will talk about them in future episodes. That's a teaser, such as gamifying our ADN or RN curriculum. Also, an accreditation tool, a program viability tool, as well as other tools for students that I also mentioned the live avatars, which we are using, but we're going to talk about a lot of these products. Some are acquired from different vendors that are our educational partners, many of which are going to be vibe coded. And I think that's the future of academic institutions and businesses in general. You may not have software developers or data scientists on your staff historically. Kaiser University is not an institution that we did have that. But now every subject matter expert can be a software developer via the genesis of vibe coding. Vibe coding now levels that playing field where the subject matter expert can get you pretty close to a finished product. And what we are doing is doing think tanks for vibe coding. So we're sharing ideas amongst our faculty, our staff, and our students to improve the student experience, to improve the faculty and staff operational capabilities. We are also going to be hosting hackathons and various speaker series for AI. This is all stuff that we will talk about in the upcoming episodes at Kaiser University plus AI. But please stay tuned. This is just the intro to what this podcast will be. But ultimately, our approach to artificial intelligence integration is augmenting human intelligence, making our graduates, making our faculty and staff better at their subject matter expertise than they already are, and future proofing them for this AI era that we are entering today. Thank you. I'm Robert Kaiser. Again, I'm the Vice Chancellor of the Graduate School. We look forward to interacting with you in the future. If you want to be a guest on an episode, please reach out to us. We would love to have you on this new podcast called Kaiser University's Plus AI.